I'm Nicole, your CHW for the Ponca Tribe of Nebraska in the Lincoln office. We are now in the winter months of December, January, and February, and with this, we will be getting winter storms and cold temperatures. That can be very dangerous. Today we have Todd here with us. He is our safety and risk specialist for the Ponca Tribe of Nebraska.
Hi.
So Todd, what can we do to prepare ourselves for the exposure for this winter weather?
You can get proper clothing for the outdoors. You can also be sure that you're well prepared in your vehicle and have your house more insulated and better weather stripping. And don't go out if the weather's bad, if you can help it. And especially if you have people who are a marginal risk. Especially elders, extreme cold, which is forecast to come in here before the new year, really puts older people at risk. It's an extreme task on their cardiovascular system.
So what is a wind chill?
A wind chill is a number that's been derived through research originally by the Weather Bureau before it became the National Weather Service. But the number is made up of two factors that are measured, temperature and wind speed. So with this, it's basically a number that's an adjusted temperature due to the wind speed. And it's only measured for temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And it mostly is a feel-like temperature. But this also the research really is regarded to how it affects exposed skin, is where the number comes from.
Okay, so how would we dress for this weather?
Extra warmth, extra clothing, windproof clothing. It depends on what you want to do, but really where things start is with a really good base layer. So if you have a really good base layer, the old days it was long underwear, but now the space age stuff is way better than what we used to wear even back in the 80s.
Okay, and so if someone's not dressed correctly, what would we look for signs for frostbites?
Early stage of frostbite is called frost nip, and I've experienced quite a bit of frost nip, and the more you experience frostbite, the more sensitive you become. But this is where you start to feel the pins and needles in your hands, throbbing in your hands. Your skin gets pale and cold to the touch. These are signs that you need to go inside. And I've been out in that actually working on things with exposed hands. It's taken me as long as 15 to 30 minutes to actually regain sensation in my fingertips. And that's not a very smart thing to do. Just a job requirement for the job I was doing at the time, but you really don't want to expose yourself any way you can. I mean, face, coverage, those kind of things.
Okay, so are there safety precautions to follow when we're outside, like if we're going to go shovel the driveway, sidewalks, or if the kids want to go play?
Dress for it. I have a kit here that I usually take out in the field. This is insulated coveralls or a snowmobile suit. So this is rated to -40. So that's the quality insulation in here. Socks, I prefer wool socks. You can usually find the wool content on them. So merino wool is some better stuff if you can get it. Insulated gloves, and make sure your gloves actually match your temperatures, as well as more extreme stuff. These are I don't put one brand over the other, but I do have a preference. And some of these are extremely windproof and slip on quite nicely, but they has an added liner, so it keeps you warmer. Your boots, your shoes, a lot of them now come with insulation. These have thinsulate, 800 grams of thinsulate in them. And I came from up north down here, and so for a lot of the winters that I found after 25 years in Nebraska, is a boot like this usually serves you because you have a lot of weather changes. But this boot is insulated neoprene up on the top, and then this thin slate in the bottom, and you put that on with a wool sock, and maybe you have to add a foot warmer, and you're usually fine all day. I know I haven't had to have snow boots on, I think, in 10 years. the insulated snowpack that, where I come from, the north, is like standard wear, usually November through March.
Okay, so I see you have more supplies. Can you tell us a little bit about these?
Well, things you should carry in your car, like this is a base layer. You get different base layers out there. I like this one because it actually has thumb holes, but either waffle weave, they actually provide a lot more insulation. And what the biggest thing that a base layer does is it wicks moisture away. You don't want to get cold and clammy from sweating. So if you're exerting yourself, especially like shoveling, you want to be sure you keep that sweat away from you, because then you'll stay warmer. And that's one of the things the base layer does. Other things that go in the kit include body warmers, or you get these hand warmers. I have them in the hot hands. You can also get rechargeable ones. Rechargeable hand warmers, or the Johnny warmer that I grew up with. Your socks, like I've gone through. You can go so far as to actually have a very thin sock called a sock liner that goes on before your wool sock. The important thing about your socks is to make sure your socks and your boots match. And that means that if you have a really thick, like there's a lot of thermal socks out there that are very thick, if you put those inside the wrong kind of boot that doesn't have the room, it's going to compress the sock, and then it's not going to keep your foot warm, because now you've taken away a lot of the insulating factor of the sock. So you want room in that boot to accommodate that sock, or the sock needs to match the boot. Things you should have in your car. I may get up. First aid kit. First aid kit, very important. In the first aid kit, we have all the usual necessaries, including some ibuprofen, flashlight, and I also have an added light source here. This one is the kind you can stand up. Now you've got like a flare, and other things include battery pack, booster pack for your phone. Because if you get stranded, you're going to need that. Other added warmth items that go with this whole kit here would include, very warm hats, 70% heat loss to your head. A scarf, or in this case, this is a neck gaiter. Very warm, because then also you can pull this up over your face, so you're not breathing in that extremely cold air. That is very helpful. And a lot of these are now polar fleece, and that's very helpful that way. And let's see, if we're going into the kit for your car, it includes some food. It's non-perishable. These have been made popular by the mountain bikers and backpackers. They have expiration dates. I think this is like next November. A lot of people like to carry like Hershey bars and stuff like that. Make sure you have that food, and you rotate that food, also water. Make sure you have a rinse paper, a shovel. Things people don't think about with snow is something anti-glare. And the reason why is to prevent snow blindness. So either you're wearing these, or you get like the tack visor, the yellow visor, that drops down and takes the glare away. It actually helps to prevent a lot of your glare that's going to come off your snow.
Okay, so with this, do you have any tips of how we could weatherproof our homes when it gets really extremely cold?
Well, the best thing to do is actually start that way before your cold comes in. You start looking at that in the fall months. But even right now, if you're concerned, if you're burning sage, if you're doing some of the things you normally do for rituals, go around and do that around your doorways, do it around your windows. The smoke will tell you where your drafts are. Another one that I do with that is I like to actually, on a sunny day or a bright day, shut all my lights off in the house and go around the house and see where I find light coming through. If you can see light coming through, those are your extreme gaps, so you need to know to get weather stripping in those places. If you have windows that really leak, everybody's done the plastic thing.
Yeah.
Go get the plastic kits, cut your drafts down.
Okay. So what should we do in case we have a power outage?
Well, you want to make sure you reduce your usage of things to conserve heat in your house, because your biggest worry is whether or not your furnace is going to be working. You know, electric heat's a no-brainer. You know, you're going to lose electric heat, but in a lot of cases with a gas furnace, your blower won't have any electricity to go operate on. You won't have that. My introduction to Lincoln, Nebraska actually was the October, what they call a Halloween blizzard in '96. And I experienced that actually having no power for 4 days. The things you learn from that are you watch how you cook, you watch where you are. So you bring everything into as few rooms as possible, close off any rooms you don't need, kind of keep everybody central. You want to be sure also where you are, you have proper ventilation, because I know there are ideas out there about people burning candles to increase warmth or things involving terracotta pottery. In those cases where you have flames, you got to make sure you have ventilation, because your risk of carbon monoxide poisoning is still there. So if you have a carbon monoxide detector, great. If you don't, always make sure you have some ventilation somewhere, so you're always getting fresh air, and then reduce what you do.
Okay. So what about when people want to travel during this time? Like, how would they prepare their cars? Would they, weather reports on roads?
Always go to 511 for the most latest weather information. Prepping your car, you really want to look at, make sure your battery's charged. People go, I drive it around enough. The thing is, modern cars, all the electrical features they have now today have bigger alternators in them to drive more of that stuff, but it takes more power away from the battery. So what it takes to start it, plus the new ones that have the shut off and turn on, you want to be sure that the battery is topped up before you go, just like your gas tank. Yeah, and we're talking putting that thing on a trickle charger to be sure that you have the full profile of the battery recharged. The things you want to make sure that your tires are properly in proper care, and that's what difference is there is what I consider minimum tread depth is 4/32 of an inch versus the minimum that they talk about is 2/32 of an inch. And a place called the Tire Rack did some research on that difference and found the difference in stopping between 4/32 and 2/32 was about 9 bus lengths, which is a lot. So make sure you have proper tread depth. Make sure your tires are properly inflated and not overinflated, especially in the winter. Because if you're overinflated, then your tire sits too big on the ground. It's rounded out. It doesn't have proper contact with the road surface. You're more apt to do a lot more slipping and sliding. Other things are, in part-time four-wheel drive vehicles or vehicles with rear-wheel drive, you might want to add some weight to the back to actually help with the momentum so they don't slide around so much. That's one of those other things. Other one is let someone know where you're going and when you expect to be there. And when you get there, call them and see you made it. If no one knows you're out there, they don't know to look for you.
Those are some good tips. Do you have any other things you think we need to know before we wrap up?
Winter can be scary. It can be deadly, but it can be a lot of fun. It just takes care and preparation to actually understand what you're doing. And check on your elders. Check on the older people, especially when it gets very, very cold. Do things to help them out. The old phrase they have, a lot of doctors talk about this, and that they talk about when the winter comes in is the killer of old men. And the reason why it is that is because a lot of guys, older than me, want to go out and shovel the sidewalk. And that exposure, that exertion often causes a heart attack. So, be careful about how you expose, what you do out there. Don't overexert yourself. Take your time. Give extra time. It's the best thing you can do.
Okay. Well, thank you, Todd, for coming with us or joining us today. All right. That's our Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us.